Hello, welcome to the live study channel. Today I am going to discuss solid principle. Solid principle is a part of the design pattern. So I am going to discuss solid principle, interview question and answer. So with example, so let's start. So my first question is, describe the interface isolation principle, right? IPP. So basically there are, suppose I am creating in a program, there is a three user 1, user 2 and user 3, and then you can write the code through the operation. Okay, so so is actually three users, so operation will be 3, operation 1 method. So the interface segregation principle also discussed in this IPP is also called the segregation principle. Okay, the basic definition is that the client should not rely on interface that it does not need, right? But the user can proceed. The client should only rely the method it uses, because if interface has several methods, it means that is implementation class must be implement all interface method, which is very violated from the code structure, right? Means operation 1 method, operation 2, operation 3, basically so now the look here, right? Like volatile, the principle of interface isolation from the evop class structure, right? The multiple user need to be operate the operation class if user 1, right, only need to operation 1, user 1 only need to operation 1 method, right? User 2 only need to operation 2 method, and user 3 only need to be operation 3 method. Then it is obvious to user 1 that you should not see the 2 method operation, like operation 1 and operation 2. You cannot see this 2 method, right? Dependence to present the modification of operation 2 and operation 3 method in the operation class affect the function of user 1. This problem can be solved by isolating different operation into independent interface, right? Suppose user 1 can use user 1 operation, like, okay, user 2 can use user 2 operation, user 3 can use user 3 operation, right? But operation can separately, means based on principle of interface isolation, all we need to do it is reduce the definition of an extensive and complete interface. The interface to be implemented by the class should be decomposed into multiple interfaces, and then implementation according to the required function, and where the interface method is used, use the corresponding the interface type is declared so that the caller and the object non-related method can be released from the dependency relationship. To summarize the interface isolation principle, primarily function is to control the granularity of the interface, prevent exposure to the client without the relevant code and method, ensure high cohesion of the interface, can reduce the coupling with the client. Okay, move to the another question. Another question is, what is solid design principle? Right? It's a very most important question. Most of interviewer are asked this type of questions. S means what? Solid. Single responsibilities. Okay. Sorry. O means, so basically single responsibility, a class should have a single responsibility. O means open closed. Open closed means software entire should be open for extensive but closed for modification. L means Lisco Substitution, means object in a program could be replaceable by subclasses of same type without any adverse impact. Interface segregation, I, means multiple client specific interface are preferable over single generic interface. Dependency inversion, means program could depend on abstract entity. It should not depend on concurrent implementation. This principle was maintained by the Robert Emmons. So just few minutes I am discussing, right, IPP. So you can remember it. S means single responsibility, O means open closed, L means Lisco substitution, I means interface segregation, D means dependency inversion. Okay, move to the another question. There are 5 oriented design pattern if they follow. Another question is, what is the single responsibility principles? Right. So basically the single responsibility principles seem to be simplest ones. However, it is one of the most confusing principles to follow. Its definition is straightforward. There should be only one reason to reflect a class. The reason for the change indicate the responsibility of this class. It may be either a function in a specific field or a solution to business logic. This principle indicates that we couldn't let a class bear too many responsibility functionalities. Once there are too many features implemented in one class, it can be really hard to reflect this class due to one specific responsibility, either volatile. In this case, the state of the software system is unable and any minor configuration is likely to affect other function in this class. This we need to encapsulation different responsibility in different class, that is encapsulate various reason for changing in the different classes, and change among the different classes do not affect each class. Describe the open close principle, OCP. means the open close principle. This is called the open close principle in English. The basic definition that the object, class, module, function, etc. Just open close principles means classes, modules, and function. In this software could be open the extension but close for modification. Open to extend here means that by adding a new code, the program behavior can be extended to meet the change in demand. Close to modify means that is existing code should not be modified when the program behavior is extended to avoid affecting to original function. The key to changing the behavior of the system without changing the code is abstract and polymorphism. Interface are abstract classes define the abstraction layer of the system and the expanded by concrete classes. In this way, that is no need to make any changes to the abstraction layer, only need to add a new real classes to implement new business function to meet the requirement of the open and close principles, right? Open the close principle. So means there are 3 points like interface, right? Abstract, polymorphism, right? So I think most of students and most of developer know about the interface. Just I have already make the video for the core Java and oops concept, but just remember it. What is interface? Actually, interface is a completely abstract class, right? That is used to group related method. Means interface is a completely abstract class that is used to group related method with the empty body, right? To access the interface method, the interface must be implemented by the another class, but with implementation keyword in need of the extend. Means the body of the interface method is provided by the implementation class, right? But the abstract class means kya? Abstract class is a abstracted class that cannot be used to create object. Means abstract class, restricted class that cannot be used to create a what? Object. Another point is polymorphism. Polymorphism means just create the interface abstract class. Another one is a polymorphism. Polymorphism means one form, okay, but multiple one name but multiple behaviors. For example, communication, right? Means communication means one name communication, but you can communicate to different form, like through the telephone, through the chat, through the video calls. Okay, so just little bit revision. So okay, for example, back to the my previous questions, means open close principle. So just for example, you can create a display, okay, display program fluid string. If so, if it is needs, if we need to add the chat, okay, with a chat such as a line chat, we must modify the display method of the display class to add a new judgment logic. Okay, judgment logic. This approach violate the opening and closing principle. Okay, opening and closing principle. The way to implement the class conform to the open and close principle is to introduce the abstract chat class, means abstract chat. Okay, at the base class of other charts, let's display depend on the abstract chart class abstract chart, and then use display to decide which specific chart class to use the implementation code, because like the what which type of means private abstract chart and use variable chart. Another one is a public void display method and use the chart dot display method. Just so now we need to add a line chart display, inject a line chart object in the display on the client, right? The client without modifying the source code of the existing class library. Okay, just use the private, right, abstract class. Okay, private abstract class, okay. Move to the another question. Another question is describe the Lisco substitution principle, right? So based on the affecting program correctness, all place where the base class is used can be replaced with the object of its subclass. The base class and subclass maintain where are two types of object with interface relationship. When we pass the subtype object, we need to ensure that the program does not change behavior and state of any original base class, and the program can operate normally to understand the principle of Lisco substitution. Here is the classical. For example, volatile, the principle of substitution, square rectangular problem. The class hierarchy of the square rectangular problem. The square class inherit the where rectangular class, but the width and height of the rectangular class can be modified separately, but the width and height of the square class must be modified together. If the user class operate the rectangle class but the actual object is of the square type, it will be cases an error in program, right? So following the block code means rectangular r is equal to dot r dot set without 5. You can put the 5 variable parameters and r dot set height and the area, right? Another question is, so just I'm also just one point, just I remember in the height is square point, right? So in area is equal to 10, then what means the object of the specific type returned in a square, like 2 is 2 to power 2 means 4. The accession with the area of 10 is failed, then what, which not in line with the principle of Lisco substitution. If area is 10 is failed, to make the program code conform to the principle of substitution in style, we need to ensure that when the subclass inherit the parent class, In addition to adding new method to complete the new function, try not to rewrite the parent class method. In other words, the subclass can extend in parent class function but cannot change the original function of the parent class. On the other hand, the means in another definition, another hand means the principle of Lisco substitution is also a supplement to the principle of opening and closing. It is not only applicable to the inheritance relationship but also the design of the realization relationship. Means is a relationship, has a relationship, often maintain is for the behavior method if two classes the way of behavior is incompatible, then you should not use inheritance. A better approach to extract the public part of the method in need of the interface. Okay. Another question is, what do you understand by the OpenClose principle? Right. The OpenClose principle states any class component or entity could be open for extension but closed for modification. A class can be extended with the inheritance interface composition when the required in need of modifying the code of the class. Consider an instance where we have a class that calculates the area of a square. Later we get the required of the calculating of the area of rectangular, where in need of the modifying the original class we can create one base class, and this base class can be extended by the new class. Another question is, what is the dependency inversion? Right. Means dependency inversion principle, the basic definition as the high level module. Right. Means high level module should not depend on low level module but should really on abstraction together. If the high level module depend on the low level module, the low level module change in likely to affect the top level module, resulting in the high level module being forced to change, which make it difficult to reuse the high level module. To understand that means high level module could not depend on the low level module but should really an abstraction together. If the high level module depend on the low level module, the low level module change likely to affect to the top level module. Means the high level module forced to change which make it difficult to reuse the high level module. To create a suitable abstract layer in a high level module and only real on the abstract layer, the bottom layer module complete the implementation detail of the conceptual layer. In this way, high level classes use the next layer through the abstraction. So in the way, high level use the next layer through the abstract interface, removing the high level dependency through the underlying implementation detail. Regarding the dependency inversion principle, the available design pattern for factory pattern, template method pattern, and strategy pattern. Means the really on the principle of inversion can reduce the coupling between classes, improve the system stabilities, reduce the risk cases by parallel development, and improve the readability and maintainability of the code. Simultaneously, the principle of reliance can inversion is also the core principle of framework design. It is good at creating reusable framework and extendable code such as Servlet, specification implementation of Tomcat container and Spring IOC container implementation. Right? Means application can use the service implementation. I'm talking about Spring embassy, right? But in a Spring, this application through the service means interface and then implementation. This type of. Another question is, what is difference between strategy and state design pattern in Java? This is an interesting Java design pattern interview question. Both strategy and state design pattern has the same structure if they look like UML class diagram for the both pattern. They are exactly as the same, but their intent is totally different. Right? Means the state design pattern is used to define and manage the state of the object, while the strategy pattern is used to define a set of interchangeable algorithm and is a lot of client choose on the strategy pattern is a client driven pattern, while the object manage their self. Another question is, can you write Threadsafe Singleton in Java? Yes. Threadsafe, yes. Means multiple way write the Threadsafe Singleton in Java, like writing the singleton using the double check locking by using static singleton, stance initialization during the class loading by way the using the Java enum to create a Threadsafe singleton is most of the simple way. Another one is the private through the private. Another question is, what is the difference between decorator and proxy pattern in Java? The decorator pattern is used to implementation functionality on an already created object, while a proxy pattern is used for controlling access to an object. Another question is, interface segregation principles means interface segregation principle means client should not be forced to implement unnecessary method which they will not use. Means I in Solidity stand for interface segregation, and it is simple mean that larger interface should be split into small ones. By doing so, we can ensure that implementation class only need to be concerned about the method that are of the interest to them. Another question is, what is the similarity between interface segregation principle and single responsibility principle? Both the interface segregation principle and single responsibility principle have approximately the same goal: ensure small, focused, and high cohesion software components. The difference is that single responsibility principle is concerned with classes, while the interface segregation principle is concerned with the interface. Hold the interface and with the interface. Interface segregation principle is easy to understand and simple to follow, but identify the distinct interface can sometimes be a challenge. Hence, we require carefully consideration to avoid the expansion of interfaces. Therefore, while writing an interface, consider the possibility of implementation classes having different set of behavior, and if so, segregation interface into multiple interface, each having a specific role. What is benefits of interface segregation principle? Means increase the code readability, easier to maintain, better organization of code, don't need to throw exception unnecessarily. That is all about the solid principle, the interface segregation principle. However, This order the commonly we use the design pattern. Another question is, what is generalization? What are the two forms of generalization? Generalization is a concept of object oriented programming in which common property and behavior of two or more type can be defined in a single type, okay, which can be inherited and reused. Two form of segregation: sub type interface inheritance, which is supported by the Java programming language. View the interface. Sub classing or implementation interface, which is supported by Java programming language. View the class interface. Another question is, what is solid principle of object oriented programming? Solid is an acronyms of 5 object oriented principles that make software design more understandable, flexible, and maintainable. The solid acronym was introduced by Michael Feather. Following are the 5 solid principles. Means single responsibility principle: every class should only have a single primary responsibility. Open close principle means software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. Lisco substitution principle means object in a program should be replaceable with instance of the subtype without altering the correctness of the program. Interface segregation principle means many client specific interface and better than one general purpose interface. Dependency inversion principle means one should depend on abstraction and not concretion. Another question is, how is the bridge pattern different from the adapter pattern? Means the adapter and bridge pattern are very similar. They are both considered a form of encapsulation. Encapsulation means and facilitate more control over code change without impacting the class structure. However, the main difference between the two is that using a bridge pattern is a separation the initial data from it is implementation. In contract, an adapter pattern allow incompatible classes to an interface without changing the source file. Another question is, what is anti-patterns? Means anti-patterns are the opposite side of the design pattern. Some negative consequence occurs while implementing a solution to commonly occurring problem term an anti-pattern, and they can create bug and badly affected the software. Anti-pattern can occur if a developer does not apply a design pattern using best practices have applied to the specific design pattern in the wrong context. Another question is, what happens if the method return in need of singleton class is not a synchronized in multi-threaded environment? In case of multi-threaded environment, the non-synchronized accessor method of singleton class may create more than one instance of the class. This can happen when two threads enter the condition to check if the init already exists at the same time. In which both the thread will find that is init does not exist, they will get a new object init and return, and thus we will have more than one init of the class available. Thank you so much. Okay, please like and subscribe this video. Thank you so much.